Assalamualaikum and hey there. My name is Nurin Shaira binti Humayun Kabir and I am from Group MC110B. Today, I'll be delivering an informative speech for my public speaking course COM165. So, what am I going to talk about today? I'll be talking about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. My specific purpose of delivering this speech is to inform everyone who is watching this video about what is ADHD, its risk factors, symptoms, and how can ADHD be treated. The reason why I chose ADHD as my topic for my online speech is because I feel like more people need more exposure on ADHD. So, what is ADHD? Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is a neurological disorder that impacts the parts of the brain that help us plan, focus, and execute tasks. ADHD is also one of the most common childhood neurodevelopmental disorders. It is usually first diagnosed in early childhood and often lasts into adulthood. Children with ADHD may have difficulty paying attention, managing impulsive behaviors which they may act without worrying about the consequences will be, or be overly active. Do you know that there are three types of ADHD? Predominantly inattentive presentation, predominantly hyperactive impulsive presentation, and lastly is the combined presentation. So, what are the differences between all these three types? First, let's talk about predominantly inattentive ADHD. If you have this type of ADHD, you may experience more symptoms of inattention than those of impulsivity and hyperactivity. You may struggle with impulse control or hyperactivity at times. But these are not the main characteristics of inattentive ADHD. People who experience inattentive behavior often miss the details and they get distracted so easily. They get bored so easily and they move slowly and appear as they are daydreaming. Fun fact, more girls are diagnosed with inattentive ADHD than boys. So next, let's talk about predominantly hyperactive impulsive ADHD. This type of ADHD is characterized by symptoms of impulsivity and hyperactivity. People with this type can display signs of inattention, but it is not marked as the other symptoms. People who are impulsive or hyperactive often have difficulty sitting still. They would have trouble engaging in quiet activities. They often act out of turn and do not think about consequences of actions. Last but not least, if you have the combination type, it means that your symptoms do not exclusively fall within the inattention or hyperactive impulsive behavior. Instead, a combination of symptoms from both of the categories are exhibited. So now that we know different types of ADHD, let's move on to the risk factors of ADHD. Like many other illnesses, several factors can contribute to ADHD. Firstly, genetics can contribute to ADHD. It appears to run in families and it is known as the genes you inherit from your parents are an important factor in the developmental of disease in most cases. Research suggests that it is more likely that parents and siblings of a child with ADHD have ADHD themselves. Next, brain injuries may contribute to ADHD as well. The researchers claim that it can take up to a decade for ADHD signs to emerge in children after they have a severe head injury. In young children and adolescents, traumatic brain injury, also known as TBI, is a common cause for hospitalization. It is related to the developmental of psychiatric disorders, including secondary ADHD, a form of ADHD that occurs after an injury. Approximately 1 out of 5 children that had TBI may often experience ADHD. However, within a few years, it typically manifests. At one time or another, it is common for children to have difficulty concentrating and behaving. Children with ADHD, however, do not simply develop out of these habits. The symptoms persist, can be serious, and can cause problems at school, at home, or with friends. Sometimes different symptoms may occur with different types of ADHD. People with inattentive type of ADHD usually have symptoms of having problems staying focused on tasks or activities. For example, they lose focus during lectures, conversations, or long reading. Next, people with hyperactivity or impulsivity type of ADHD have the symptoms of interrupting or intrudes on others. For instance, they cut into conversations, games, or activities, or they start using other people's things without permission. Luckily, ADHD could be treated. In most cases, ADHD is better treated with a combination of behavior therapy, and treatment. The objective of behavioral therapy is the treatment of the symptoms of ADHD. For adolescents, counseling generally includes educating parents and teachers how to offer positive input on desired actions and negative outcomes, while careful planning is needed for behavioral therapy. It can help children learn how to regulate their action and make good choices. Psychotherapy and behavioral techniques that strengthen structure and organization can help adults with ADHD. Overall, I hope that I have raised, if not a lot, then maybe a little bit of awareness for ADHD throughout this online speech video. Thank you so much for lending me your ears, and I hope that everyone who watched this video have learned something and gained knowledge about ADHD. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.